Hey there, Internet. You are watching the Google Hangout for the planting and revitalizing of churches in the North Dakota district. And as you can tell, we've had several of these different Google Hangouts over the last several months. We've had Pastor Lucas Woodford on, we've had Pastor Donovan Riley, President Bonnick on, and today we're joined with Pastor Zelwyn Heide. And Zelwyn is actually the pastor over in Western North Dakota, over in the great Bakken oil boom, and he is one of our church planters for the North Dakota district. And today we're going to be just throwing some questions at him, see how things are going, get a flavor of what the church planting is like over in Western North Dakota. So welcome, Zelwyn, to this Google Hangout, and it's glad to see you, and it's glad to have you on board here for this conversation for the next 30 minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Good. Well, let's get right into it here. I have a couple questions for you. First of all, how are you doing? I know you came straight from the Fort Wayne Seminary, and so you packed up your family, you got on out to the Bakken oil boom. I know this is kind of, maybe tell the people that this is kind of somewhat the area of home for you, being from Eastern Montana. But so how are you doing? You settled in and transition, how did that go?
Yeah, transition went pretty well. I mean, we had a pretty good trip back from Fort Wayne. And like Pastor Richard said, I'm actually from Eastern Montana, so this is a little bit like home for me, as different as everything has become. And so we've settled in, and we're getting to know the congregation real well, and we haven't had too many hitches or anything like that. I think we're doing real well. My wife and 3 children are settling in, and we're just getting used to life in the ministry.
That's great. So maybe we should just, as we kind of have this conversation, when we say Bakken oil boom, I spent some time out real close to where you were at for about 7.5 years, and you're familiar with that area. But when we say the word Bakken oil boom, what does that mean? So maybe somebody watching this from maybe Minnesota or down the road in a different state, they're maybe saying, what on earth are we talking about? So what would we say? What is the Bakken oil boom, and what is that flavor? What is that for you, where you're actually in?
Sure. This is actually the third oil boom that has occurred in this part of the state. But the Bakken oil boom started about a few years ago when they started drilling a different way, horizontally, so they were able to extract far more oil than they were before. And what that did was they brought in all kinds of people from all over the country into this area. And Watford City, which was a town of about 1,500, exploded to somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 in the course of a few years. I mean, it's enormous growth, and it's just continuing. Even though we're in the midst of kind of a little bit of a slowdown because of the oil prices, there's still a lot of people here. There's still a lot of action going on, a lot of laying pipe, a lot of drilling, and they're just trying to get as much as they can and get settled into a regular production out here. And so that's kind of the situation that we're in right now.
That's great. Yeah, and so we think about the Bakken, but I don't, maybe you know the statistic on this, but I guess I was told a while back that you have Alaska and Texas, and now North Dakota. I think I'm not sure if North Dakota surpassed Alaska or Texas for production of oil, but maybe it was Alaska. I don't recall, but this is no small deal. The amount of oil that's coming out of Western North Dakota. I mean, it's a huge boom, and so yeah, very, very cool. Now, let's just a little bit of your context here, Zelwyn. You're serving in Grassy Butte, so explain that. So you're serving at an established congregation, but you're also at the same time doing this church plant in the midst of this oil boom. Where? And so explain that relationship. Where are you serving now? Kind of how does that work with the church plant down the road, and where's the church plant at?
Yeah. Grassy Butte is an established congregation. It's about 100 years old or so. And it's a very small congregation, but a very faithful group of people. And I'm serving as the regular pastor there, and the sole pastor, but they're also the mother congregation of this new church plant. They are basically providing funding. They're providing, helping out on the ground, and also that I'm a regular pastor. I'm not just going out and doing things on my own, but I have the responsibility to Grassy Butte and to take care of them. And then that mother church plants the daughter church in Watford City. We're currently Still in the process of getting it established in Watford City. It's a long process, nothing to be surprised about there. But we've established, regular worship services in in a hotel meeting room actually at the moment, and we're just striving to get the message out right now. So that's currently where we're at in the midst of things.
That's very cool, very cool. So just kind of reiterate what you're saying then is that you're actually at a established congregation, Grassy Butte, and so then that's your congregation, and then they are being a mother. In other words, they're the mother church that's overseen with, underneath your leadership as the pastor and vocation as in the office of pastor, the establishment of a church down the road. Now, how far is Watford City from Grassy Butte?
About 30 odd miles. It's about
Okay.
a 45-minute drive.
Okay, so about 45 miles. So then you're doing the services in Grassy Butte and then taking those services and then obviously probably using the same sermon and everything like that and bringing the word and sacrament up to Wofford City for the folks up there, right?
That's correct, yes.
Great. So next question, I shot you a couple other questions here too, kind of just to flesh out some here. So we talked a little bit about how you're doing. We talked a little bit about the oil boom, the massive influx of people that have come to that area. And so in a lot of ways, I've heard it said before by many churches is that the world, is kind of coming to the Bakken oil boom. I mean, people from all over the United States are coming there. So a lot of influx of people, a lot of action. And even with the drop of oil prices, like you said, still a lot of action and drilling and so forth. And so then you're there with Grassy Butte and then doing the church plant up in Wofford. So next kind of question here to flesh out here is what is the status on the current church plant? So kind of, maybe bring us all up to speed on some of the work that's been behind the scenes. I know you and I, we know we've kind of talked back and forth, with the establishment of the website and trying to make a presence in the Wofford community and trying to work into that. So where has the church plant, where did you kind of start and where are you at now and where are you going with that? Obviously you mentioned briefly that you have services there, but kind of back it up for everyone so they can kind of get a picture of what the church plant endeavors look like.
Sure. Yeah, what makes my situation kind of unique is that being the sole pastor of this mother congregation, I also have responsibilities in Grassy Butte. So that kind of makes everything go, I don't know, maybe at a little bit of a slower pace than it might elsewhere. But what we've done so far is the first thing that we did was we wanted to get a stable communication. And so we established a website for the purpose of getting this information out. It's actually a dual website that serves both Grassy Butte and Watford City, and so they can get information there. And so once that was established, we then found a location to start having regular services, because I'm of the opinion that it's easier to just have a service and tell people when it is, rather than trying to worry about what time is ever going to work for everybody. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? And you're going to run around trying to figure everything out. But just having a regular service that could change in the future if it needs to, gives us a stable word and sacrament presence that we want to just have going so that we're able to just start moving forward. And in the future, some of the things we're going to do is just getting more advertisement out, getting it better known in the community. I mean, this is a several years project. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. And in fact, when we had the first service in Watford City, I actually chose for a text, "Where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am among them," for a very specific reason, because it's going to be 2 or 3 in the name of Christ for a very long time. And we wanted to make sure that they understood that going into this. This is not something we need to expect miracles of, but the Lord will do his work through the word and through the sacraments here in McKenzie County.
Wow, that's great. Great. I commend you for that. I think that's so cool. I think there's definitely a pressure and a temptation in our society where we look at numbers, bigger is better, and all this idea. And so we sometimes validate. I mean, we even see this, and I was on conversation with somebody the other day. We kind of validate a congregation whether or not they have all this enthusiasm and people and numbers. But really, as our confessions state and as the Word of God states, as we look at that, what is the church? It is the word and sacrament, God present, giving His gifts around people, and if you have three people with a broken organ in a broken down old church on the prairie, that's still church. I mean, we got to realize that's still church. And sometimes we'll look at that and we'll say, well, that's not a church, and we compare it to what we call a big box church, with the laser shows and the fog and all that. But if the word isn't present, then it's not a church. And so, yeah, I commend you for that. That's awesome to have that text. And I think you do bring up a really, really good point as far as having that word and sacrament present in Watford and having that stability, that steadiness of going on. And then you have something to point people to, which I think, yeah, that's great. That's awesome to hear. Let's move on here. A couple other things here. So we kind of covered the status of the current church plant, the website, and give us the website here again. I think, in my humble opinion, you did a phenomenal job of the website. It's just awesome, and it's neat how you have Grassy Butte and the Wofford City Church at the same time on the same website, kind of seeing that mother-daughter relationship. And so I think it's wonderful. But what is the website? If you can give us the address on that.
RedeemerSt.Philip.org.
Okay. Yeah, so I would encourage people watching that, please go check out the website. It's very, very professionally done. Your sermons are posted there, right, Zelwyn? Is that the
That is
case?
correct.
Okay. Yep, sermons are posted there. Location. There's also a connection to the Facebook page for the church, right? And I believe now, do you have two separate Facebook pages for each church, or is it just one?
Two.
Two. Okay, good. So yeah, for people to check that out, and we'll try to post a link at the very end. Excuse me, at the very end of this here for that. Let's move on here. One other thing here. We have a couple more questions we'll toss your way. What challenges do you see in regard to planting churches in the Bakken oil boom? I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that the Bakken oil boom has its own culture in a certain extent. I mean, we're all sinners in thought, word, and deed, but every culture kind of has its own ethos, I guess you would say. So what would you say, or what are some of the challenges that you have seen as far as the planting of the churches, the ministry of the gospel, challenges, and also at the same time opportunities? I don't want to go like a total business model when I say strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, but just more of a what is the lay of land? What are some of the challenges that drive us to prayer, drive you to prayer, and then some ways that you see some neat opportunities in that area.
One of the first things I would say is a major challenge here is we are in the midst of a slowdown. And because of that, people are leaving at the moment. That doesn't mean that this is going to continue forever. People are predicting that there is going to be a pickup again, in which we might see just as much activity as we did before. But right now, in the midst of things, people, are leaving. That's just a reality. There's a lot of people still here, and I don't think we'll ever go back to what it was, but we just have to deal with where we are. Another major consideration is that with so many different people here, this is, well, I don't know how else to say it other than it doesn't feel as much like it used to. The culture has changed here. A lot of the people that used to live here when the boom first started have left. And as a result, you have all of these people from all over, from all kinds of different backgrounds and cultures and that sort of thing. And they're all just kind of mushed here together. And so trying to deal with that reality is proving to be somewhat challenging. Not that, obviously it is what it is and it'll kind of settle down. But when you have 2 out of 5 license plates being out of state, it tends to show you, what the kind of situation that we live in here.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense as far as the culture. And I think, one thing I experienced there was the long-established North Dakotan culture. If you think about generation after generation of ranchers and farmers out in that area, maybe going back 100+ years. And then all of a sudden you have an influx of people, and then there's almost a sense of, at least I sensed there was a sense of the hometown boy, right, the hometown crowd, and then the people that were coming in from the outside. There was always, the time I spent, there's always a tension, a grinding between both of those groups. So there's always that kind of a bad blood in that, and so that was always a challenge I found when I was out there as well. And then as you mentioned, some of the people, the leaving, so they come in and the market drops out, then they leave, and then you have well-established people here who were maybe a little unsettled and frustrated with the change of the landscape, and they were selling their property and leaving. So, like you said, and maybe we can just reiterate this a little bit. It's a very fluid culture. I don't know if that makes sense. If I'm making sense there, coming and going, up and down. The emotions too. Would that be depending? Really, the emotions of the disposition of the people, is that kind of fixed to the oil market? When prices are high, people are euphoric, and when they're down, they're kind of gloom and doom. Do you sense that as well, or am I reading too much into it?
There could be. That could very well be the case. One of the things that it has done, I actually forgot to mention this a little bit earlier, is people work extremely long work shifts here. And as a result, everything is focused around the oil. And so the oil has become the culture, more or less. When people work from 6 to 6 for 6 or more days in a row, you don't really have time for anything else. And so unfortunately, not only do you have that grinding and that tension against each other, you also have people that tend not to do much other than work. Maybe they go to the bar or something like that, but there's not a lot of, I guess to me, there seems to be not a lot of social interaction between the people. It'll probably change over time, but again, you're dealing with just the realities of living in the midst of oil.
Yeah, explain that a little bit more. I mean, I know this from the context of being there as well, but for the average person here, so when we're saying oil workers, we're not talking an 8 to 5 job where you come and you clock in at 8 and you have an hour lunch break with 15-minute breaks and you're done at 5 and you go Monday through Friday. So I explain that a little bit more. It's not that. So what would it look like? Because that makes having church on a consistent basis a challenge. Right? I mean, so explain kind of the work week, and then we can lead into the church struggle.
Yeah. One of my most faithful members, he's a truck driver here. He drives a water truck around, and his job is basically to start at 6 in the morning, driving all day until 6 in the evening. I imagine he has a lunch break in there somewhere. I don't know where. But then he does that for 8 days in a row. So he has no discernible weekend. It's not an 8 to 5 job. Some of them do. I mean, we have other members who a little higher up on the hierarchy will have more of a Monday through Friday kind of job. But even them still working 12 hours or more. And it's not an 8 to 5, and they're really out here for working extremely, extremely long periods of time.
Yeah, I was thinking as you're sharing here, I remember the church in Sydney. There was one of the parishioners, and really great guy, good family guy, was faithful attendance. But he would go, it was like 8 on, 4 off, or 6 on and 3 off, and it was all over the place. And so he'd come to me and see me at church, and he said, "Well, I'll see you in 3 weeks." That's just the way it worked. And so, what we ended up doing is, which is exactly what you did, is have the website so that at least the word is being delivered, and he could log on his, when he was in his pickup truck going from oil well to oil well, and he could listen to the sermons online, which is a neat option. So let's see here. Let's talk a little bit more. If we want to learn a little bit more about the church plant, people being involved, we obviously can go to the website. And give us the website address one more time here, if you can, Zelwyn.
RedeemerSt.Philip.org.
Okay, and you can contact you through that, through the website. And then also we have a website for the church planting endeavors of North Dakota, and that is www.plantinginnorthdakota.org. That's plantinginnorthdakota.org, and that's where we house the Google Hangouts such as this. We have several others listed there. We have links as far as donating towards the endeavors of the church plant, and then you can also get a hold of Pastor Zelwyn Heide through the Redeemer St. Philip's website as well. As we kind of close up here, Zelwyn, is there anything else you kind of would like to add as far as anything that we might have missed at all?
I guess I never did actually mention the name of the plant. um, which
Yeah, give us the name, and then yeah, you had it was just really cool, and I'm kind of like, man, that would be kind of fun and exciting. You were kind of basically gifted the or given the authority to choose the name. So you chose a name, and why? So what's the name, and why did you choose it? That'd be kind of fun to hear.
Yeah, we eventually decided on the name of St. Philip Lutheran Church here in Watford City. And the reason that I chose that name after being given authority to do so was because of Philip in Acts 8. When he was going out in the wilderness, he came upon the Ethiopian eunuch, and he proclaimed to him the word about Jesus, beginning from Isaiah, and then he was baptized. The eunuch was baptized. And the reason why we chose St. Philip was because Philip embodies very much what we're trying to do out here, which is out in the midst of a very real wilderness, proclaiming the word from the Holy Scriptures and leading people unto repentance and to the gift of baptism and the Lord's Supper. And so Philip kind of becomes something of what we're trying to do out in the midst of McKenzie County.
That's great. That's great. Love it. I just love it. That's awesome. So, well, wonderful. Well, we're kind of coming to a conclusion of our time here, and so thank you so much for taking time this morning here, Pastor Heide, in sharing us with the update and all the work you're doing, and just as just a colleague of yours, I just want to say I have utmost respect for you and appreciate all the work that you're doing out in the Bakken oil boom, and not only for your faithful service to Grassy Butte, but also for going up into the Wofford City area with Word and Sacrament in this mission. So definitely our prayers are with you as you continue to minister out in the Bakken oil boom, and we praise the Lord for the work that has already been done. So thanks for being with us here this morning, Pastor Heide.
Thank you for having me.
That's great. Well, as we kind of wrap up here, like I said, that this will be posted at our plantinginnorthdakota.org website, along with other Google Hangouts. And in the weeks to come, we're looking at, I know I had mentioned a couple other individuals in the past, and I'm still trying to line up people, but for the month of December, we have a pastor actually named Jonathan Watt, and I met him a while back at the Kansas City rural and small church conference, and he's going to come on and he's going to talk to us about kind of a new concept, at least new to me, not necessarily having two-point churches where you have maybe one pastor that serves two churches, but having two churches that they end up merging together. And so he has a really unique kind of case study of where he had two churches and they merged together from two different cities into one congregation. And so it's a fascinating story and the work that's being done there. And so I thought it was just a wonderful story and a case study for us to contemplate. So we're going to be having him on in December for our next Google Hangout installment. And then, I have some hopes and dreams of getting President Forkey from Montana. I haven't contacted him yet, so if he sees this, he can expect me to be getting a phone call to him and having him on, and a couple other people that we've talked about before, having them on this Google Hangout as far as being able to interview them and learn from them, and to talk about things such as church planning and the revitalizing of churches here in North Dakota. So at this time, we will sign off. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Again, pass on the website to anyone, or this Google Hangout to anyone that may be interested, and please take time to check out the church planting efforts over in the Bakken oil boom and the work that is being done with the Redeemer Lutheran Church and St. Philip Church up in Wofford City. So thank you and God bless, and we'll catch you next time.